Shopping is a pastime that we all love in the UK. We all love to spend time down the high street. But there's been talk recently about the death of the high street, which I personally think is somewhat overrated. Today I'm in Newcastle and I'm here to talk to consumers to understand what they're looking for in terms of the type of experience that they expect from our nation's retailers. I'm doing this because I want to put you, the customer, at the heart of our nation's shopping experiences. And I want to understand what really needs to happen to fix the high street. Do you shop online and offline?
Not really.
Not really? So what, only offline or online? What do you do normally?
Going to shop?
Go into the shop?
Yeah,
you
I do. My friend doesn't.
You don't? You only buy in the store?
Yeah.
Can I just ask you quickly why you don't buy online?
Because I like to feel the
You like to
fabric
touch and
and
feel?
I like to try on.
Right.
It's better because you see, you touch, you try.
I prefer to actually go into the store because
Yeah.
I like to try things on and get
Yeah.
a feel for what I'm buying.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm probably mainly online.
Mainly online?
Yeah.
And what would you buy offline then? I mean, your Thornton's chocolates.
Well, yeah, Thornton's chocolates,
Yeah.
clothes is the main thing that I buy offline.
Books maybe.
Books,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, and for my Kindle. Amazon
right.
Kindle.
Okay,
Yeah.
you buy clothes offline.
It's very rare for me to buy anything
Right.
online.
And why is that?
Wise. Just for fitment and that.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of an odd shape, so it just doesn't work.
Don't look that odd to me, but there you go. But you would do both?
Both.
Online and offline?
Yeah, I
just
mean,
as comfortable doing either?
Yes, just because if I don't have the time to go into town.
What would frustrate you about buying in a store? Anything in particular?
People.
Right.
I mean, sometimes there's not enough assistance about.
Right, yeah.
I just do it online from like in my bedroom or something.
Yeah, but in the physical store, anything that's
No, not really.
No, nothing at all. And same for online. Anything that frustrates you about buying online?
Sometimes, like, because the sale item then changes halfway through or whatever.
Do you buy gifts online at all? Do you ever do that, or
No, I go shopping in stores for gifts.
you go into the store?
Yeah.
Why is that then?
Just to be a little more tangible, to
Yeah.
look at it and feel it and see it, I guess.
And do they gift wrap as well when you're in there? Is that something that they offer? Or?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
If they do have it, I'll do that.
Right. And what about gifts? Do you buy gifts for people online?
really,
or-
no.
You just don't buy gifts for anybody?
Pretty much, yeah.
Quite right too.
It's the way to do it.
Right, where are the business books?
Business is very, very chocolate unless it's a new hardback and it'll be over there.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Excuse me. Hi, I'm looking for business books. Thank you.
It's done two bays basically. So it starts careers, goes down into general business, and then management, and then different subsectors.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And could you check if you've got a book either on your website or in stock? I couldn't find it. It's called 100 Practical Ways to Improve Customer Experience.
Definitely haven't got it in stock here. And you could certainly order it off the website though.
Okay, how long would it take if you were to order it to get it here?
Look for you. About 2 to 3 working days.
2 to 3 working days, right. And what about if I ordered online?
No, it's just dispatch within 24 hours, so
Maybe a bit quicker.
possibly.
Yeah.
Probably by the time it gets to you.
Yeah. Do you know what the delivery proposition is for ordering online by any chance?
How do you mean?
Well, you know, if I order online, how long does it take? Is it a day, 2 days?
Dispatch within 24 hours. Beyond that, I don't.
You don't know.
It's going to take it to
Right,
get to you.
okay,
It's just going to
fine.
go through the mail.
Do you do click and collect or anything like that, where I could order it and then pick up in the store, or?
You can have it delivered to store if you're doing it online. I would imagine it's going to take much of a similar
Right,
period to get here in
yeah.
that sort of sense.
Okay, alright.
But yeah.
That's fine. Thank you very much. Cheers, thanks. I'm standing outside Waterstones bookshop in sunny Newcastle city centre. I went in looking for a business book. First of all, I looked to try and find a member of staff that could serve me. No one wears a uniform and no one has a name badge, so I didn't really know who to ask in the first place. It took me a few minutes to work that one out. Once I did, I was directed to the business book department on the top floor. Then it took me a minute actually to find where the business books were because they're not particularly well signposted. So again, I had to look for a member of staff. I knew the name of the title of the book that I was looking for, and I asked them if they had it available online because I couldn't find it in the business section in the store. They told me that I could order it online, but they couldn't tell me what the delivery proposition is because they didn't have that knowledge. So I was a wee bit disappointed by that in terms of the customer experience. Overall, I would give Waterstones a mark of 5 out of 10 because of that lack of knowledge around the multi-channel proposition and the fact that I couldn't work out who was a staff member and who wasn't in the first place. I think there's a wee bit of work to do there to improve the overall customer experience. Good morning. Can we talk to someone in sales?
I'm sure I can find somebody.
Yeah, that's good because it's a car dealership. There you go, look at this. What car of the year? Won a lot of awards, haven't they, Skoda?
It's going to be something freaking in a moment, guys. Is there a car particular you're looking at?
Yeah, the Scout, or an alternative four-wheel drive.
Not a problem. The car's open if you want to have a look inside.
Yeah, good, thanks. So yeah, just want to just get an idea today of the different options that are available. Is this the only SUV that Skoda does, or?
There's the Chocolat, which is the smaller of the two.
Right.
We've also got a Chocolat as well, which is the big one.
I mean, to be honest with you, I've not looked at Skoda before. It's actually for her, so you know, probably been a bit of a car snob in the past. I mean, it's doing really well, isn't it, as a brand? So, be quite interested to find out what the best deals are on this one and Kodiak.
Do you want us to grab the keys to one of the?
Yeah, we can have a look. Yeah,
you can have a look.
Please, thank you. I don't like the colour of that. Yes. I don't know, it's a really weird colour, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's that, so roughly, I didn't look at the price there, what's the step up in price?
So this one is 29999 on this one. It's a lower specification than the Chocolat in the showroom.
Right, and is this not a 4x4 as well?
This one is a 4x4, but it's an SEL one as well.
Is that Sports Elegance, SEL, or what does it stand for?
I'm not sure what it stands for. It's just what's called.
What sort of discount would be available off a brand new model on either?
We're always does a first offer, which is sort of the total list of the car and everything, and then after that, sort of negotiating. But I've seen up to £2,000-3,000 off the list price.
So you wouldn't do that. He would do that. He would do the first offer.
Does all the figures. Just show all the cars.
What's the insurance like on both these models then? Do you know what group it is?
I've got it on my iPad with all the insurance groups on it. It's got an update. You must be the same on everyone's iPad, they're all updating. I would normally use isn't working.
That's okay. Would it be easier if we just give you an email address and you could fire something off? Or?
Yeah, I can do. I can send you because all the brochures now are online.
Electronic, yeah.
I can do my card as well.
Lovely.
If you've got any questions. That's all right?
Yeah, lovely.
That's my card.
Thank you. Thank you. Here I am outside Looker's Skoda in Newcastle. I went in with a friend of mine looking at the potential of buying a Skoda SUV, a sports utility vehicle, a 4x4. From the minute we walked in, didn't feel like a brilliant experience. It wasn't very welcoming. The person in reception was on the phone. The sales manager was trying to find us someone to talk to. It took us about 10 minutes to actually get engagement with anyone. I think some people might have just walked out, but we decided to proceed. When we eventually met the colleague in the store who was going to give us some help, he was very friendly, very welcoming, but not that knowledgeable. Didn't sell us any of the benefits of buying a Skoda, and given Skoda have been awarded 4 or 5 cars of the year for 2019, there was no mention of that. There was no asking us what our requirements were, exactly what we were looking for. Was it a diesel car? Was it a petrol SUV? Did we have a budget in mind? When asked questions about the insurance group, for example, he said, I don't know, but it's on the tablet, I can find that information out for you. And then when I asked about price and were any discounts available, he said that he couldn't talk about that, but the sales manager took care of all the negotiating. And that felt like a potential breakdown in communication and relationship, because we were talking to him about the car and the spec. We're going to then have to talk to somebody else about the price. We left, he took our details, he said he was going to email some more information to us. We'll see what we get back. But overall, I would give that experience 2 or 3 out of 10. It really wasn't typical of a car dealer experience at all. And I feel they left our cash well and truly on the table. Random chip. How come there's only one person serving behind the counter? I mean, it's short staff today. Not really a lot of people that should be on that, so I don't know how you've done that.
So we're going to get, 2 are going to be the same, which is 2 bottles of Waterstones, medium, with corn on the cob and sweet potato wedges.
How do you sign up for the club?
I can sign up.
Yeah.
So
So I've swiped it so you get a point for today, you have a read through.
Yeah.
And that's what you can claim every time you come.
We waited at least 10 minutes there to get served, and the reason is that they're short-staffed. Ah, we were just about to come and ask. We thought you were outside catching the chickens. Thank you. Thanks. No, I think that's good. Thank you. So here I am in Newcastle. I've just been to lunch at Nando's with a few of my friends. From the minute that I walked in to the minute I left, I thought there were quite a number of opportunities to improve the experience. Downstairs when I walked into the Newcastle branch, there were chips on the floor. The chips were still there when I left an hour later, so it felt like an obvious lack of focus on cleanliness generally within the restaurant. When we went upstairs, it took us 10 minutes to get served. When I inquired why it took so long, they told me that they were short-staffed, which made me think as a customer, why are there not iPads at the tables or an app or something that I can order through directly, just sit there and then wait for my lunch to be delivered. It took 15 to 20 minutes for the food to be delivered, so they must have been short-staffed in the kitchen as well. Nobody tried to upsell me onto a loyalty card. The food was inconsistent. The sweet potatoes that two of my friends got were both undercooked. So overall, I'd say a lot of room for improvement, and I'd give Nando's at best 4 or 5 out of 10. Let's see any staff on the shop floor. Let's try upper floor and women's. So next is probably the first major retailer in the UK to have more than half of their sales online, which is pretty impressive. I can't see any staff here either. This is a pretty big store. I'm not sure what the floor print is, but it's many, many thousands of square feet. I just managed to walk pretty much all of kids wear and women's wear. Here's a kiosk. Not sure how this works. It says search the full collection, check stock, order and pay. I don't know how I can check stock. Let's try menswear. Customers I've seen trying on shoes and trying on products have been left to their own devices. There doesn't seem to be anyone around to actually help them. So I've just been to the Next store in Newcastle city centre. Next is one of the few retailers that now has almost half, if not more than half of their sales online. Overall, from a product point of view, very strong. Product merchandising, very strong. Visual merchandising, pretty good. Although I thought they could have done a better job of calling out new and best-selling styles. The one thing that was disappointing was there was no messaging around the multi-channel proposition, which was surprising for a business like Next, but also hardly any staff. I walked through the whole of kids wear, I walked through the whole of women's wear, and I got to menswear on the second floor before I found anyone that could serve me, and they couldn't serve me because they were behind the till taking people's money. So it makes me wonder, how much cash is Next leaving on the table? I give Next 6 out of 10 for that customer experience. Hiya.
Are you managing okay, sir?
I shall probably seek your help in a minute.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no bother.
What's in these boxes then? What's in this? Milk.
They're all different selections. Yeah. That one's your best-selling selection. So you've got a mixture of milk white dark, fruity alcohol, praline, caramels, nutty ones in that one. That one's all milk to caramel bases. It's a lot of pralines and runny caramels in that one.
And how much are these boxes?
They're $22.95 for that side and $12.95 for that side.
$12.95, right. Why don't you give me one of those? Yeah. Well, I'll have 2 of those.
2 of those?
What's the, you have a website as well, don't you?
We do,
yeah.
Yes. Are they for an occasion at all? Sorry, darling.
No, not really. No. Well, they're kind of thank you to somebody.
Thank you. I can pop them. Check them in a shop right.
No, I'm okay, thanks. Say that again? A sleeve? Yeah, thank you. That'd be nice. That's a nice idea.
Have you got one of our VIP cards?
I don't know.
Would you be interested in getting one today?
Why not?
Yeah.
What's in it for me?
You
That's the
get
$1 million.
10% off your next shop with us.
Right.
Which is valid for a month from the day that you sign up.
Right, okay.
And then you get a little treat on your birthday.
Uh-huh.
You get rewards throughout the year as well. And every time you scan your card when you're shopping, you get entered into a monthly prize.
Right, okay.
So the more times you scan it, the more entries you've got to win.
Cool. And can I buy, presumably I can buy everything here online?
You can do both, yes. Both here and online.
Yeah.
Just come and see us.
Why not?
Are you alright if I link it up to your email address there, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And how long have I got for something?
That's your new card.
Lovely, thank you. Great, thank you very much. Thank you. Bye bye. So I've just been in the Hotel Chocolat store in Newcastle city centre. I have to say overall it was a pretty good customer experience. I was left to wander the store for a few minutes myself, and then I was asked if I wanted any help, which actually is one of the few times I've been approached, mainly because there hasn't been anyone on the shop floor in most of the stores I've been into over the last few days. So I thought the assistance at that point was pretty good when I was asking questions about the different chocolate gift boxes I could get my hands on. When I went to pay, she asked me if I wanted to sign up for the VIP card. So I'd say all round a pretty good experience. The only thing I thought could have been a bit better was some messaging around multi-channel in the store, all the different ways that you could shop and engage with Hotel Chocolat. That, let's be honest, started I think mainly as a catalogue business that then moved into retail. So that's an opportunity I think to improve things, but the staff were pretty good. And I'd say I would give Hotel Chocolat a 7 out of 10 for the customer experience I've just had. So I've been mystery shopping in Newcastle city centre today and I've had a whale of a time. I've looked at buying a car, I've had lunch in Nando's, I've been to buy a book in Waterstones, I've looked to finish off the day buying chocolates, and I've had some fashion in between, a fashion fix and next. And I'd say that the same themes generally are recurring through most of the experiences I've had. That is that there seems to be an overall shortage of staff on the shop floor these days. Kind of hard to find somebody to actually give you service in a physical brick and mortar environment, and that's also coming out when I'm talking to consumers about the things that frustrate them about the offline shopping experience. I also feel that retailers could do a better job of informing customers of all the different ways that they can engage with them and through all the different channels and all the different touch points. Aside from that, the product seems to be pretty good. Colleagues, when you do get a hold of them, are nice people. There's just not enough of them. So that was my experience in Newcastle, and now off to London. So my advice for lookers Skoda in Newcastle is first and foremost to make sure all of their colleagues in the branch are able to sell. I was quite surprised. I was expecting to go into a car dealership and be overly sold to, and actually the experience I had was the opposite, and no one even asked to take the order. So I felt there was a real lack of salesmanship. And given Skoda's won multiple awards for various models for Car of the Year in 2019, nobody called that out when we were looking at the vehicles. My next piece of advice is actually around the welcome. When we walked into the store, the receptionist was a bit lukewarm. It took her a few minutes to really address us, and when she did, she told us that there was free coffee around the corner. So I think that when you go into a car dealership, I think you need to think about how do you welcome customers and how do you make sure you keep them warm and keep them interested, even if you don't have enough people to serve them at that moment in time. From a process point of view, I also thought there was a breakdown because the person who was dealing with us initially, who I thought was the salesperson, wasn't really the salesperson, because he told me that he couldn't actually take the sale and that the sales manager does all the negotiating. And I thought that was a potential breakdown in the relationship. Why spend time with one person who tells you all about the product and then somebody else who takes the order? I think that potentially leads to the customer feeling maybe a lack of trust. Certainly from a relationship point of view, it doesn't help the situation, and I don't think that's the best way to deal with it. So my advice to lookers would be have one person deal with a customer from start to end. So I'm now going to review the website for Lookers Skoda in Newcastle. And the first thing here when I look at the homepage of the website is that there is a lifestyle image, and although the lifestyle image is nice, it's taking up the entire screen of the website. And that feels to me like a little bit of overplay in terms of the content. And the one most obvious thing to me, and I found this when I went into the branch, is that given that Skoda's won Car of the Year for 2019 for at least 4 or 5 of their models, or what Car of the Year should I say for 2019, why are they not calling that out? That should be the most obvious thing that I see when I land on the website, because it gives you huge credibility in relation to Skoda as a brand and the specific vehicles in their own right. If I then scroll up and down the homepage of the website, I see all the basic contact information, so that's great for the Newcastle branch. I've got the opening hours, I see some latest offers, which are a little bit far down the page. If I then click on the main banner, it takes me into the main website itself. So again, that kind of makes me feel like there's almost an image there that doesn't need to be there, because I'm not sure what that image does in the first place. When I click now on the homepage of the site, there's an icon on the left of a car, which is clickable, but when I click on it, it doesn't do anything. So I'm now a little bit confused. Then there's a drop down where I can start to choose a particular model of car, and I can choose a budget, and then I can put in a budget which is either a cash price budget or a monthly payment, which is pretty good. And then what it's automatically doing is it's then telling me how many cars are available to view within the criteria that I've just chosen. At the same time, I've got a pop-up here with offering me to chat to somebody in their contact centre. What I really like about it is it tells me the gentleman's name, who I shan't mention for the purposes of this, and it's got their picture. So that's quite nice and quite personable. And I've got a choice of either talking to them through SMS or actually starting an email communication, if you like, with them. I'm going to close that down because I'm not going to do that at the moment. When I look at the rest of the site, I can see that there's a free part exchange valuation, there's Skoda offers, and then there's book a service. So largely speaking, there's all the things that you would expect to be able to do on that website. I just think you could surface those key calls to action a little bit quicker, bearing in mind why most people are going to be on that site in the first place. If I look at the top navigation, there's a link to my garage, which essentially is, when I look on it, I realize it's actually the equivalent of my account. So in there, I can save vehicles to look at later. I can save searches for vehicles that I've searched for already, and I can have a look at those later on. So that's quite a nice feature. I'm not 100% sure that most users will know what my garage is, so it's a little bit ambiguous. But generally speaking, I'd give this website, as far as a car retail website, I'd give it 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty good. I just think you could make the journey a little bit slicker. So my advice, having been into the Waterstones store in Newcastle, my advice for Waterstones is, first of all, can you do something so that customers can ascertain who the staff are within the store? It took me a few minutes to work out who was actually working there and who wasn't. No uniforms, no badges, no name badges or anything. I think that also depersonalises it to some extent, so I think that's a missed opportunity. I also think from a visual merchandising perspective, there's a job to be done. It took me quite a while to work out where the business books were, which is what I was looking for. So I think you need to focus on visual merchandising. And then you absolutely need to make sure that all your colleagues in store know what the multi-channel proposition is. So I was trying to ascertain, when I was ordering a book, how long it would take to be delivered to the store, if I ordered it online, what the delivery proposition is, and I'm sorry, but the colleagues in store did not have that knowledge top of mind. That is a staff training requirement, quite clearly. And then I suppose the final thing is, I would say, is they let me walk out there without buying a book. Now, why did you do that? Why didn't they, even if they didn't have the book in store that I was looking for, why didn't they try and sell me something else? I'm interested in business books. Tell me what the alternatives are. So I'm now on the homepage of the Waterstones website. And the first thing that is obvious to me is there's no messaging whatsoever about the delivery proposition or about the returns proposition. So I don't know when I'm going to get my order. I don't know what the returns proposition is if I don't like, or if I'm sending a gift and somebody doesn't like the gift I've sent them, nor do I know how much the delivery is actually going to cost. So there's a barrier to purchase on that path to purchase right at the beginning of my journey, potentially. Also looking at the product categories, so the navigation options on the top of the site are new in bestsellers, great, fiction, non-fiction, children's, stationery and gifts. I'm a bit boring, I tend to buy business books. So I would be looking for a link that said business books. And it's only when I click on non-fiction that I then realise that business book sits fairly deeply hidden within that. Maybe not that many people buy business books, but I would have thought it might have been more prominent. Anyway, let's click on the business book tab, and then that takes me down to all the choices there. On the left-hand side, I've got a bunch of filters where I can then narrow my choice down by, for example, accounting, economics, finance, or whatever it happens to be. Let's go into law. There we go. And it brings up all the different relevant titles within that category. Let's click on the secret barrister. What is good, they surface the reviews or the ratings at this point. So that particular book has 4.5 stars, which is pretty good. It's in stock online, which is great. I don't want to waste my time looking to buy something that's not available. So again, good messaging around that. When I get down to the product detail page, again, I can see the reviews. I can click on them and read them if I want. I can sign in to leave a review myself. I see that I can save some money on it. It's in stock online, and it usually is dispatched within 24 hours. That's a little bit ambiguous. Doesn't tell me exactly when it's dispatched, nor exactly when I'm going to get it, but at least it manages my expectations. Then beneath that, there's a synopsis of the book. I can see it's been shortlisted for Book of the Year, and it tells me about the author, so pretty good information. Add to basket, and I can then view my basket. And they're cross-selling me a book about 12 small acts to save our world, which is very topical at the moment. So that's interesting, although I note that if I click on a number of different titles, I think I only get offered that same book as a cross-sell. So they're not dynamically cross-selling or trying to offer me other related books based on the one that I'm trying to purchase at that moment in time. All in all, I would give Waterstones' website a score of 7 out of 10 based on the experience I've just had. So we went for lunch to Nando's in Newcastle. Now, what was wrong with the experience? What would my advice be to Nando's? Well, first of all, we waited 10 minutes to be served. Why did we wait 10 minutes to be served? Because there was a lack of staff on duty that day. Not my problem as a customer. How about you put iPads in on the tables and allow customers to sit there and place an order at their will, if you like. I think that's a much better customer experience. It would certainly help you address the lack of staff issues. It then took us 15 to 20 minutes to get our food. Now, bearing in mind this is during lunchtime, that's already eaten up half an hour before we've even had our food. I was really disappointed by the state of the restaurant, and this may well be aligned with the staff shortage, but nonetheless, I think it's a process issue and a training issue. There was food all over the place. There were tables that hadn't been cleared. When I walked into the restaurant, there was a chip on the floor. When I walked out the restaurant, the same chip was there. So clearly, there isn't a process in place that ensures that cleanliness of the restaurant is being looked after in a timely fashion. That needs to be taken care of. So I'm on the Nando's website now, and I'm going to have a look at what I can and can't do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to key in my postcode, because I'd like to just see what the options are, what that does. It then brings me up all the nearest Nando's, which I kind of thought it might do, and it tells me how far away they are. It tells me all the facilities available, whether they do takeaway, for example. And what I was really hoping for was the ability to visit the restaurant. So I'm hoping this is going to give me the option to book a table. Hang on a minute. I'll collect or deliver to me, which is not actually what I was looking for. So let's go back a step. Because it says visit restaurant. So in my mind, visit restaurant means I want to go to the restaurant and I'd like to book a table, which is what I was hoping to do there. But in actual fact, when I click on that link, all it's doing is offering the two options underneath around collecting or delivering to me. Let's just check that again. Yep. So I was a bit surprised about that. I would have liked to have been able to book a table. Now, is that because Nando's doesn't book tables? And you actually, it's first come, first served, and when you go in and you order your food, you're given a table number at that point. But that feels like a missed opportunity somehow to me, but maybe it just doesn't fit with the business model. If I go back to the main categories, I've got food, I've got place an order, I've got restaurants, I've got Nando's card, I've got explore. Let's see and have a look what that is. There's some information around peri peri, which all loyal Nando's customers would like to know about. something to do with art and music. You can connect on the Nando's app. And then, interesting, about fighting malaria and being sustainable. Right, now that's really interesting. So, buzz off malaria and fighting malaria. So Nando's has been for a couple of years supporting the fight against malaria. You can make donations, I think, as a business there. Yes, when you buy a beer, they're contributing some of the revenue from that towards malaria. And then as I scroll down the page, I get to start to see some specific messaging around that. So there's a sustainability and a community-led initiative there that I think could be surfaced probably a bit more prominently than it is at the minute, because there's probably, most people probably don't know that Nando's are doing that, and I think that's quite a powerful message. If I go back to the homepage for a second, what else is available there? There's quite a strong message about the Nando's card, but it's well below the fold. So if I hadn't bothered scrolling down, I wouldn't know that that was there. Let's just go back briefly to my search for a takeaway and see where the card and the loyalty card comes into that. Let's go to Southgate, and I'm going to ask for it to be delivered to me. I've already put in my postcode, so I'm having to do that for a second time. Sorry, that restaurant doesn't deliver. Well, that's a bit disappointing. So having put my postcode in and got to this stage, I've now recognised or realised that this restaurant, which is actually only 2.5 miles roughly from where I live, most restaurants within that radius would deliver, don't deliver to me. So that's a bit disappointing. Wouldn't it be nice to actually offer me the option to have it delivered and maybe pay a premium if that's what it takes? You know, if I really want the food, I might be prepared to do that. So that was a source of disappointment to me. Based on the experience I've had right now and the fact that I can't order for home delivery, I've got to say I'm pretty disappointed. And it wasn't obvious that that was going to be the case because I'd already given them a postcode. Then I'm afraid I'm going to have to give Nando's website 4 out of 10. I think there's quite a lot they could do with it to improve it. So my advice to Next, having visited one of their largest stores in Newcastle, 3 floors, I don't know what the square footage is, but it's a pretty significant size of store. It took me to get to the 3rd floor before I found anyone that could give me any advice about any product. There's absolutely no question in my mind that there are not enough staff on the shop floor. Whether that's the size of the store or whether that was just the shift pattern, I'm not really sure. Bottom line is, I'm pretty confident lots of customers would be walking out of your store because you didn't have anyone there to serve them and give them the right level of advice. The next point would be that there's some technology in the store. There's what looks like a kiosk where you can scan items, but it's not interactive. It looks like something that really has to be staff assisted. And as a customer, particularly if you are short-staffed, what a great opportunity to still capture my demand by maybe having an endless aisle, a touch screen where I can still place an order on my own if I want to self-serve. But it's really not clear how you use that technology. So if you're going to put technology in the store in the first place, please make it clear to customers what they need to do to engage with it. Next does a better job of visual merchandising than most, but I did feel, particularly as I looked around the menswear department, that visual merchandising and product merchandising could have been much stronger, calling out best-selling styles, calling out new in products, and also merchandising, you know, suits with shirts and ties and cufflinks and other accessories. You know, what a great way to basically sell more products. So as successful as Next is as a business, I'm sorry, but I think you're leaving a reasonable amount of cash on the table. So I'm now going to review Next's website, arguably one of the best retailers in the UK, and actually have more than half of their sales now through e-commerce. So I don't think any other national retail chain is anywhere close to that percentage of sales through online. So clearly doing lots of things well. As I look at the homepage of the website, I can see there's a delivery proposition that tells me if I order by midnight for next day delivery to home or store, but there's an asterisk and that says subject to conditions. That always gives me, as a consumer, a seed of doubt, and I'm not really sure what the asterisk is all about. So then I've got to click on that, and that takes me away really from my path at that moment in time. And it doesn't tell me what all the delivery propositions are. It doesn't tell me whether it's free returns, which I think is still really important in this day and age for consumers to know. Not everyone is an existing Next customer, so not everyone will know what those service levels are. If I go into men and I go into boots, I'm going to go down to a product page. I'm going to click on the Tan Premium Chelsea boot because I like those. When I look at this, I can see the description's tucked away, but it's there if I need to look at it. But what they've done is they've consolidated the space so that they can, underneath, they do a really nice job actually of cross-selling and getting me to buy, you know, Cherry Blossom Ultimate Protect Spray, Twin Brush Set, Neutral Polish, and other products. They offer me the opportunity to buy other boots, but they don't cross-sell apparel, which, given the range of products that Next has to sell, I think it's a bit unusual. You know, I might want to buy a pair of jeans with those boots, I might want to buy a t-shirt, I might want to buy a whole outfit. So that feels like a bit of a lost opportunity possibly at that stage. I'm going to choose my size and I'm going to add to bag, and then I'm going to see what happens when I get to the shopping bag. Actually, while I'm on the product page, I can see that already that I can shop my local store and it can be ready in 1 hour. So that's a pretty good call to action to know that I could go to my nearest Next store and pick that up. I go to my bag. I can see that I can save items for later, or I can choose to check out now. Interestingly, on the shopping bag, if I scroll up and down, the one thing that I would really expect to see is all of the delivery options and the service levels behind that. The shopping bag is the place where consumers absolutely need to see that information. For one, they want to know what the total cost of their order is going to be, and two, they want to know when they're going to get their order. And the fact that information isn't there is a real concern, and I'm pretty confident that Next will be losing quite a lot of conversions at that stage. A number of customers will abandon and won't bother going to the checkout, because really you don't even know if you're going to find that information when you get to the checkout. So I think that that page has quite a lot of work to do to reassure customers and to give them all the information they need so they know when they proceed to the checkout that they're going to get their order when they want it and what the total cost of the order is. I think it would also be an idea to tell customers what all the different payment options are at this stage. So again, when you go to the checkout, you know that you're going to have the right payment option that's right for you. Those would be my main tips for Next to improve that particular part of the website. Based on the experience I've just had, I would give Next website 8 out of 10. So my advice to Hotel Chocolat, having visited the store in Newcastle, is just to make sure that colleagues are very clear that when someone comes into the store, that they address them first and foremost. The two colleagues in the store when I went in were having a conversation amongst themselves, and it was a few minutes before anyone addressed me. When they did, however, the experience was pretty good. I bought some gifts. They asked me if I wanted a gift sleeve for that. When I was paying, they signed me up for the loyalty program, having ascertained that I wasn't already a member, and they told me what the benefits of that were. So pretty good experience. What else would I recommend in terms of improvements? I think some key messaging around the multi-channel proposition would have been good. I think Hotel Chocolat are doing a better job than most, and although there are still some opportunities to improve the experience, I don't think they're leaving too much cash on the table. I think they're doing a pretty good job of serving customers. I'm now going to take a look at one of my favourite subjects, chocolate. And where better to go than the Hotel Chocolat website? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the search box and I'm going to look for gift boxes because I want to send some gifts. And as I key in gift boxes, it actually starts to offer me some different gift selection boxes, which is great. The Everything Sleekster, the Everything Luxe, and the classic Chocolat or chocolate cabinet. And then I can see more details on that. And then on the left-hand side, there are Christmas gift boxes and then other gifting information and gift experiences that I can click on. I can also click on all results. So I'm going to do that now and see what it brings up for me. Wow, my mouth is watering. So let's have a look at the classic chocolate cabinet. And as I click on that, there's a description, there's ingredients, and not a lot else, but I can add to bag. It tells me it's been rated 4.6 by 48 different customers. I've just noticed a help chat window has opened up down the right hand side. So if I want to talk to somebody, I could do that. So that's great. So let's just go back to the home, to the main home page a second. I can see that UK click and collect is available. That's quite, I mean, that messaging is a little bit lost. So there's a dark chocolate message on the left hand side, which is a little bit random and lost. There's UK click and collect. And I think because of the light font on the white background, it's not obvious to see. And then there's delivery options. I think I would be making those more prominent. The brand is also really small. I mean, the biggest thing that actually pops out to me on this homepage is the sale banner. And I know they want to sell products and there is a discount available, but I don't really think that should be more prominent than the logo and the branding, to be honest. I think that diminishes or cheapens the brand to a certain extent. And as I say, the proposition around click and collect and delivery options could easily be lost. Let's click on delivery options and see what those are. Then it takes me into, wow, a really complicated, detailed page around delivery charges and timings, which quite honestly is a bit of an eyesore. And I can tell just by looking at that immediately that although there are lots of delivery options, it feels like that could be standardized to some extent. I mean, there's standard delivery, there's UK nominated next day delivery, there's Saturday delivery, there's UK free click and collect, there's UK click and collect. Then there are international delivery propositions. So maybe that's why they've hidden it. But you know, I think when you land on the homepage of the website, why not have a really compelling call to action that says next day delivery available, you know, or select a day delivery, or something very succinct that you think is likely to be the most compelling and the most used delivery option. And then if customers want, they can click to go and see all the different options. I'd just be a bit worried that would put customers off. So I'm going to go and buy myself some praline chocolates. If I click on praline chocolates, I'm going to go into the Trillionaire shortbread selector. I'm going to add these to bag because they look just too good not to have. And when I get to the checkout, I can see here there's some messaging around gift by text. Not really sure what that means. UK delivery, click and collect, international delivery. So all those boxes are ticked. And are they trying to tell me that these are options I can select at the next part of my journey when I get to the checkout? Honestly, I'm not that sure. Because in a way, as a customer, I could easily look at that and think, crikey, I must have already selected that. Have I really selected a gift? Have I really selected UK delivery, click and collect, and international delivery? I think that adds complexity at that stage of the customer's journey. On the left-hand side, there's a very large, prominent voucher code box. My concern about that is that customers who don't have a voucher code are going to go looking for one. And if there isn't one available, they may not buy. So I'm a bit worried there that that is too prominent and again could become a barrier to conversion. So Hotel Chocolat, great products. Overall, a decent customer experience, but quite a lot of opportunities, I think, to improve conversion. And I would give the website overall 5 out of 10. Thank you for watching this episode of my secret shopping experience in Newcastle.